This is a backtest to a strategy that we have written that is running on a highly specialized chart over the last 4 months. Let me show you a little bit more of the backtest. It has told us that if we had run this strategy over the last 4 months, we would have done $61,155, a profit factor of 1.94, long and short. What else can it tell us? The total number of trades, 265 trades. Not that bad for 4 months. Percent profitable, 63%. Pretty nice. Gives us the average net profit, average winning trade, average losing trade. And it gives us so much more. Now, what it doesn't give us, we'll come back to the performance report. What it doesn't give us is a guarantee of what something is going to do in the future. Now, this particular backtest does not have, we believe, much spuriousness. You see, some of the backtests that you see online are full of spuriousness. We take great pains to explain this to our members. You want to be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because something has spuriousness doesn't mean that it won't work. You just may have to throttle back or throttle your expectations. But this particular strategy on this particular chart is pretty accurate, at least we believe. Excuse me. But there's something else about backtesting, something known as a curve fit. When you go back in time and torture the data of a particular strategy, the machine will find the best possible outcomes. It will. It might generate a curve or an equity curve that looks like this. Maybe it does. But what it's doing is generating a curve fit. We haven't done that here. This is not optimizing that many inputs. But to safeguard that, what we've done is to take the 30,000 tests and to save them into this. What is this? This is a forward test. TradeStation Walk Forward Optimizer. Basically, this tool provides us an opportunity to take the backtest information and plug it into a randomizer. Think of it as a bunch of spreadsheets. 10% out of sample, 15, 20, 25, 30% out of sample, 5 runs, 10 runs, 15 runs, and it randomizes the data. It's stress testing the backtest. Now, I don't have enough time here to explain the details, but let me show you something. First, we'll go back to where I was. The overall result, which is what we're concerned with, the matrix average, tells us that the average of all those tests is that it did pass the setup criteria that we had defined. You see, you get to set up the criteria. What might that criteria look like? On an annualized basis, it's telling us that the matrix average is about $63,000. That's what it's telling us we might make on an annualized basis. Now, we might make more, you might make more, we might make less. Trading just one contract of the mini in Q. But there's further stress testing that we can do. It's got something called, now remember that number is 64,000. The walk forward efficiency tells us that, no, realistically, we probably won't do 60,000. We may only do 33% of that. Maybe that's acceptable to you. Maybe it isn't. But remember, it's just the guide. We could do better. So if we're at 60 some odd percent, and it's telling us we might do 33%, then that is roughly how much? About 20 some odd $1,000. Trading one mini contract completely robotic. But again, you might do better. Maybe that's acceptable, maybe it isn't. Additionally, it can tell us the consistency of profits. Is the average is 73%. That's really high, and that makes it very comfortable for us to run. We will know in a short period of time. You would know in a short period of time, is this strategy, this robotic algorithm, going to produce money for me day in and day out? And with a matrix average at 73% and knowing what I know, I would have very high hopes. But they're hopes at this point. We're going to have to run the strategy. And we're going to have to compare and contrast the results, the real-time results, with the back test and the forward test. And we're going to do this over time. And we're going to share this with our members. And we're going to make any modifications and tweaks as we go. If you are an annual member to Stock Market Caddy and you want to know the specifics of this strategy, what strategy is it, Bagger? What are your inputs? What are your other parameters? What chart have you chosen to run it on? Just drop me an email. I'm happy to share that with you. I can't and won't do that on YouTube. That wouldn't be fair to our members. You see, we work very, very hard. Our members work very, very hard. They're patient, they're disciplined, they're passionate about what they're doing. If you want to learn to trade mechanically first, then robotically, we invite you to visit stockmarketcaddy.com. If you don't, that's fine. You want to be hodling this and hodling that. I understand that Bitcoin has reached $100,000 a coin. It's awesome. Maybe it's going to $1 million, maybe it's going to 10 million. Just remember, fart coin. Yes, there is a fart coin. And it has reached a market capitalization larger than 38% of all the stocks in the Russell 2000 companies trying to make something productive. Very reminiscent to me of the .com. In the .com, they said it was the internet and we were in perpetual nirvana. The markets would never come back. And there were bubbles and everything. Beanie Babies. It's happened before, folks. The bubble may continue another 10, 15 years. It might. Then again, it might not. In March of 2000, the NASDAQ had crested a little over 5,000. There were many, many more stocks than there are today. You might even say the world was a much safer place. Glasnost was happening, the Berlin Wall was coming down, the internet was breaking loose, Pfizer had created Viagra. Everything was right with the world. And for no reason at all, maybe they say valuations, but we know what valuations mean, not much. 9 months later, the NASDAQ was down 90%. It took 10 years for the NASDAQ to get back to its old high. Some of those individual companies never came back. Sun Microsystems, JDS Uniphase, they're gone. They're extinct. So if you own the indices and you have that type of a correction or a failure, it could take you decades to get your money back. If you own individual stocks or individual coins, you may never get back. As a trader, it makes no difference to us, the highs or the lows. We're about extracting cash flow from the money flow. And if this resonates with you, feel free to give us a shout. I'm Baggett. This is StockMarketCaddy.com. 813-758-8263. Have a great week.